All right. So today, what we will discuss is, does a coach need to be better than a student? All
Yeah.
right. So what are your thoughts on this? Pretty easy one.
Yeah, I think it's pretty self-evident that the answer is of course not, you know,
Yeah.
unless you look at it from the perspective of some coaches where that's everything, isn't it? Being the best in the room, really.
Yeah.
But I think if you just look at any sport, is any coach better than their athlete? Maybe
Yeah.
at
No.
one time they were, but
Yeah.
then they got into coaching. So,
Yeah.
come on. I
Yeah.
think that if you do hear lip service, you do hear people saying, "Oh, it's my goal to make every student, you know, better than me," and then they'll catch themselves because obviously that's not good enough, and then say, "But none have achieved it yet."
Yeah.
Right? Okay, gotcha. All right, because you can't let that one go, can you? Because you have to be. I think that's a red flag. That's a
Oh,
guy
yeah.
still saying that he needs to be the toughest guy in the room, blah blah blah. You mean I remember doing karate way back when I was a kid, and if you did spar with the instructor and you managed to land a shot on him, you were done. And
Yeah.
we've all had those kind of instructors, and that was it. Now you're in a world of pain. Now how
Yeah.
dare you? How dare you? Whereas really, that guy should be celebrating that.
Yeah.
He should be striving for that rather than takes massive, you know, insult to that, and like now it has to. You've insulted his entire bloodline, and now he has to destroy you
Yeah.
just to retain. You always used to see that in the old classic, kung fu karate type schools. That the instructor was untouchable,
Yeah.
which thankfully boxing was never like, would it? Otherwise, Rocky would never have got really good, would he? You know,
That's it.
if he wasn't
Mickey would
allowed
still
to,
be.
if he wasn't allowed to be better than Mickey, he'd never have fucking done any good, would he? It's
No,
like,
that's
come
it.
on. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a question so ridiculous that it shouldn't need asking,
Yeah.
but people do pay it the lip service because they think it's very PC to say that. But you can see with the way they train, it's all about smashing everybody up all the time just to prove all the time that you're the top dog. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got a very strong dislike of seminars and courses where students or candidates or clients or attendees get brutalized in any way. What's the
Yeah.
point?
Yeah.
I've had guys come out on the mat when I need a volunteer, and I've had them like flinch, and I've gone, "Whoa, calm down. What do you think I'm going to do?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know, a why would I go so fast that nobody else can see what's going to happen? That's not very good coaching, you know,
No.
because punches, whatever, are a blink of an eye. So all that fancy, you know, um, video assisted software that I've got for like coaching people. I spent a lot of money on something that really just slows the action down so we can see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
why I demonstrate everything slowly. Plus,
Yeah.
obviously, I'm very lazy. So it's a bit of a win-win for me, isn't it? But if you move slow, people can see what you're doing. And it's a punch to their head or it's a kick to the balls. So do I really need to do it for people to finally realize, oh, that might hurt? Of course it fucking hurts.
Yeah.
So what is the point of me standing you there and smacking you around the head and see how effective that is? It's kind of a bit of a given, isn't it? It's a bit of a thing we don't have to prove, you know? So yeah, I've got a very strong dislike of people that beat the
Yeah.
shit out of their, I don't know why they do it. I don't know why they do
Yeah.
it.
And
I
it
got
cuts
a
out the
feeling,
middleman. Cuts out the
I think
middleman. It's like you're training, particularly if it's self-defense or whatever, so you don't get hurt. So why go into a gym and get hurt by
yeah,
the
well,
person up front?
also, I've got a feeling that, you read a lot of these bios and there seems to be an awful lot of violence in a lot of these guys' past. They've had every single
Mm.
fight, you know, they've been every single kind of covert operator, doorman, football hooligan, or whatever. And I find a lot of that quite dubious,
Yeah.
mostly because I've been around long enough to read their original bios that mention none of that stuff. And it's
Yeah.
all been added years later as their market, as their audience has expanded or whatever.
Change.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, a little bit of artistic license. But if you really have done all that stuff, do you have to do it all the time on people that you quite like? I'm
Yeah.
thinking maybe you haven't, and maybe this is your massively insecure way of getting your own, living up to your own hype of that you
Yeah.
are a tough guy. You really are a tough guy. Of course you are. I don't like that. I don't like
No.
that at all. What's the point? If you fucking paid me money and come a long way to train with me, I've got a feeling that you're quite on side. So why the fuck would I want to beat the shit out of you? You know,
Yeah.
I'm still working jobs where, there is a threat of violence and it is on the cards. So I don't really need to do it on people I actually like. There's enough people out there
Yeah.
that I don't like that I need to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe,
That's it.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a red flag for me when I see that. A red
Yeah.
flag that I don't believe that guy's bio really has as many fights as he claims he's had. And also, gives a fuck, you know?
Yeah.
Why are you selling your course on how many fights you've had? Why aren't you selling your course on how good it is? Well, I think if you're teaching the same material as everybody else is teaching, you've got to have a USP because your material can't be the USP because it's average, it's standard, whatever else, it's cliched, same old, same stuff,
Yeah.
same drills that you even maybe make a point of saying, I didn't invent any of this. I stand on the shoulders of giants. And it's like, oh, great. Fantastic. Well, can I go train with those guys then? Go to the
Yeah.
source, maybe,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I came up with a saying a long time ago that I'm not a waiter, I'm a chef.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm
Yeah.
not
I was thinking
serving
that
other
too.
people's food. When I teach my courses, all right, you might say, well, everybody teaches punches. Yeah, I do. I completely agree. I'm not changing the alphabet, but I am making up new words. All right, the
Yeah.
alphabet is the alphabet. Arms and
Yeah.
legs and punches and kicks are what it is. But all my drills are proprietary.
Yeah.
I don't go on a drill. I don't go on ever on a seminar and say this is a drill I got from this guy. This is a drill I got from that guy. This is what I found of this person. Why? I don't read
Yeah.
books and pass off the information as being proprietary either. I'll tell you where the book is. Go read the book yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a red flag for me when I see that smashing
Yeah.
people up.
Yeah, for sure. And it's sad because a lot of instructors do go down the WWE path of theatrics. They
Yeah.
do a whole range of different things to try and get the audience on side, which is
Oh yeah.
it's unnecessary. It's
I love.
unnecessary.
I once saw a great comment about somebody. There was somebody there doing the usual things, snarling and stamping and smashing a guy in the head who was wearing a head guard. All right.
Yeah.
And one of the comments was, to the word paraphrase, whatever, wow, look how powerful he is. Now, that statement in itself is like saying, wow, look how good that food tastes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, can you hear how hot that thing is? It's like the sensory, metric you're using there is the wrong because you can't see how powerful something is really.
Yeah.
And also the very fact that that guy just smashed a guy wearing a head guard in the head, and the guy didn't
It's
go to
still standing.
hospital. He had a free
Yeah.
sta He had a free shot. That can't have been very powerful. It was
No.
obviously a pulled blow. So you
Yeah.
you could say look how fast somebody is, but you can never say
Yeah.
look how powerful somebody is. All right,
No. You got to feel it.
got to
I know
feel it.
what you mean.
Got to feel
Yeah.
it, and that's a big thing. And so red flags for me are when you see people stamping a lot.
Yeah.
All right, because we all know from our basic kind of school physics stuff that energy is finite, isn't it? You can neither create it or destroy it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And if you stamp it on the floor with a value of whatever, then that's one value that you can't apply to your hand hitting a guy on the head because
Yeah.
it's gone on the floor. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
that that potential energy you've created, a kinetic energy. I mean, I'm not a physics guy really, but I know just enough to, play one on TV maybe.
Yeah.
You're wasting power. You're
Yeah.
using it on the floor and it's probably interrupting the kinetic chain of events as well, that it's stopping the chain, and then you're not getting that kind of follow through of accumulated force
Yeah.
from all
Yeah.
the levers and muscles that you're using to generate it. Yeah, it's a bit of a red flag for me. It's an old
Yeah.
karate trick, isn't it, in the dojo?
Yeah.
Like having your gi pop when you throw the punch. The sleeve
Yeah.
of your gi with enough starch,
Yeah.
you get an amazing popping noise out of throwing a punch in the air because you're all
Yeah.
bare-fisted, so you're not punching each other in the face. So it's all non-contact or semi at
Yeah.
the most when you're demonstrating. So how do you show power? Well, stamp. That's a big one. That adds so
Yeah.
much. It's like when you watch a movie being filmed and there's a fight scene and there's no sound effects added. And then you
Yeah.
see the finished product when it's gone through post editing, and
Yeah.
you see every single punch looks fantastic, and a lot of it is the sound makes it look fantastic
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because it affects that part of the brain that perceives it as being a punch. But when you see him actually doing the live choreography, it's quite stale,
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
stamping on the floor, the snarling and the grunting, fine, everybody does that. I mean, just go to a Muay Thai place, you get the weirdest grunts coming out of those guys,
Yeah, that's for
fantastic,
sure.
fantastic, But yeah, stamping's a big one. Also, when you're working in a different time dimension to the attacker. So he seems to be moving quite slow and then stops at the appropriate period, but you're moving at full speed.
Yeah.
One of my, not so much pet hates, but something I just avoid is teaching using little sequences, because to me they're nothing more than well, it's a movie fight scene, isn't it? It's a
Yeah.
choreographed fight scene. I
Yeah.
dislike it, so like the joke I use for that, if you're training like that, you're not training, you're just rehearsing.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
rehearsal, it's a little mini fight scene.
Yeah.
So it's practicing a phrase of a language, isn't it, rather than actually learning the language.
Yeah.
And especially when they are stop start. Now,
Yeah.
knowing anything in advance is going to make you better, isn't it? Knowing,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Know what's coming. It's easier.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm not a fan of it because I don't see how that really bleeds into the utterly random thing you're going to encounter in a real fight.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's it. It's a difference between an open and a closed drill, really.
yeah, it's
Like you,
memorizing versus knowing, it's that kind of thing. So, yeah, I'm against it. However, the good thing about it is it looks fantastic.
yeah.
Well, that's why we watch movies, because the fight scenes look great. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But the
Yeah.
fight scenes look great because they've been rehearsed for the past 6 months. They film 5 seconds at
Yeah.
a time and splice it all together. You know, they do
Yeah.
multiple takes of things, so that's why they look fantastic. But anybody that thinks that that's going to actually occur is crazy. So
Yeah.
I'd rather train for what I know is going to happen rather than what I would like to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the thing.
I-
No?
I'd see as well, like you'd hold the kick shield, and if you hit the top corner of it, it's just such a more devastating blow as well. So instead of hitting right in the center where you're supposed to, you hit the top and it gets that reaction. And that's another one. I've seen that at
Yeah.
people do
Well,
that from time to
I
time.
I must
There's
confess I haven't done that stuff for a long time. Like what, kicking all the way up here? So,
yeah,
only when you lie on the floor, pal. You know what I mean? To be honest.
that's it.
Yeah. No, but
Yeah. And, controlling the range, even, like for me, as we've said, obviously, if you want to control the range in self-defense, I guess, you've said before, you just blink. The person will make that happen for yourself.
yeah.
But when it comes to other arts and things, like the hardest thing I find is like closing the distance and all that kind of stuff. And you see a lot of people, they start their drills within that distance where the person defending has zero chance. So
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of little tricks and theatrics, like we're saying, that people can do to make themselves, look really good. The grunting's a big one. I find a lot of people that grunt, particularly in certain arts where it's hitting and that kind of thing. Just that big guttural, that sound, makes that it
Only
seem
for
like it's a
me,
bigger hit and all those things. It's yeah,
I would say, well, the thing about the grunting and stuff, I mean, it's you need to breathe out, bottom line.
mm,
You got to remind yourself to breathe back in again, because it's very, you see a lot of novices hold their breath under stress.
yeah,
So breathing out, the only thing it really does, it's nothing to do, in my opinion, I'll say, it's all my opinion, with, chi and ki going around the body and blah, blah, blah. It's not really anything to do with, bracing the core either and stuff like that. Because actually, to properly brace the core, if you've ever done any powerlifting, you breathe in and you hold your breath
mm,
and you squeeze your abs against your lungs, kind of thing. You know what I mean? You create a
yeah, yeah,
blocked solid torso when you're lifting, and breathing out then during a lift is a big no-no, because then you become all kind of floppy. So it can't be about, like I've seen some people saying that you breathe out to tense the abdominal muscles to brace the core and things like that, because it doesn't.
No.
Holding your breath braces the
Yeah.
core a lot more. I use the breathing out thing purely because it just reminds you to breathe back in again.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
hold your breath and forget to breathe out, but you can't breathe out and forget to breathe in. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but the noise somebody makes is the noise they make. I think I must
Yeah.
kind of grunt and hiss or whatever when I hit. What does kind of make me laugh? I mean, I'm not going to laugh too much because
The excessive. Yeah.
they might attack me. Is the weird noises that people make. But then
Yeah.
it's then whenever he starts copying those weird noises, it's a
Yeah.
personal thing, and that's the noise you make when you hit. But you do see a lot of the time people copying to the minutiae, the mannerisms of their coaches. They
Yeah.
stand the same way, they move the same way, and they make the same noises. And I'm
Same
like, oh,
posture. Yeah.
that's cult stuff. That's cult stuff to
Yeah.
me. Don't like that at
Yeah.
all. It's sycophantic stuff. You know, I
Yeah.
once had a guy who was very successful in the States. Told me blatantly, says, well, what you need to do is you need to create evangelists. And I'm like, no, no, you need to create that kind of, and it says the way you do it is you overpraise them for doing quite mundane things, but you make them feel really good about it. And then in return, they'll come back for more of that. So you
Yeah.
make it quite easy, really, set a low bar, tell them that they've done amazingly. They're going to want more of that. People like being told they've done amazing, and they're going to
Yeah.
come back and they're going to reciprocate by saying you're amazing as well. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And you've created a little cult. That's easy.
Yeah.
That's the easiest thing to do in the world. But where's the
Yeah.
honesty in that? Where's the integrity of that? It's like,
Yeah.
no, no.
You're not doing what you set out to do. Your
No, I'm not the
objective.
first person to use the phrase. I'm not. I don't do feel good training. I try and do get good training. I
Yeah.
don't think I'm the first person to say that for sure, but I try and live up to that. You know,
Yeah.
I don't really see any athlete training anywhere in the world who walks away thinking he's awesome after a training session. He might be
Yeah.
satisfied, but he knows he knows he wants to do better.
Could have done better.
He's
Yeah.
never going to walk away and go, "That'll do." Never.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't see that happening. They're the most
Yeah.
self-critical people in the world, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean. Rather than they're not there to feel good, they're there to get good, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know.
There's a distinct
So
difference.
yeah,
Distinct difference.
big difference. It's a big difference. So yeah, you going back to the theatrics of that. You know, if you know, my biggest thing there though is the stamping of the feet, because purely from a biomechanical kind of technical thing, power generation, whatever power you're generating, you're wasting it on the floor. And it's a
Yeah.
big red
It's a
flag for me.
leak.
And I see it all around the place. I see people stamping on the floor, like, because they've been told to, you know,
Yeah.
or they want to copy their instructor who does it a lot, maybe, but they hit the floor harder than they actually hit the thing they're meant to be hitting with their hand or their elbow or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's a red flag
It,
for me.
it
I mean,
is.
you're
It's
going
a
to hurt
power
yourself doing
leak.
that. You're going to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you take that to its logical conclusion, you'll probably snap your Achilles tendon or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
And of course, the floor is always going to win.
Yeah.
So take all that power, and instead of stamping on the floor with it, stick it on your hand, on the guy,
Yeah.
which is what you're there to do in the first place.
Yeah.
Unless that's not your goal, and your goal is to look really impressive in front of a load of sycophants. Maybe that's your goal, but it's not mine.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
hit other people hard. All right.
Yeah.
And
Performance.
yeah, that's my biggest thing. And the sequence training. That it's very easy to polish up a sequence and look amazing. That's why we watch movies, because they look amazing. All
Yeah.
right. But will that work now in a dynamic, random setting? That's my thing. If you're 4 or 5 moves into a particular sequence to defend against a punch or something, by about move 2, the circumstances will have changed so dramatically that the rest of it will be useless.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean? That's why I keep my transitions between techniques very short, so we can block them together like Lego,
Yeah.
rather than run them like a movie fight sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
my thing.
You see that all those pad drills. Like I don't understand the pad drills where people will hit, then they'll slip this side, slip that side. I'm thinking if you slip one side, take advantage. Why are you coming
And,
back and doing that? It
it's
doesn't play
great for
out that way.
movement. great for movement and great for component stuff like that. But he's, you know, if you're putting any kind of twist on that's going to happen in the ring, you got to be careful, or it's going to happen on a fight. I mean, the worst ones for me are when you see, you know, two guys going for it, you know, with no padding on sometimes, and it's a whole kind of fight sequence, you know, of blocks and grabs and clinches and headbutts and knees and things like that, and every blow is pulled, obviously, unless you're hitting a safe area, which they often do, like the chest or something, which is what's the point of doing that? It just makes your drill look good because you can put a bit of power in there, you know, or bend somebody over and pretend to hammer fist them in the back of the head, where in reality your forearm's smashing them in the shoulder blade.
Yeah, there's no
Again, a very
target.
safe position to be because you can't physically make contact with the head in that position.
Yeah,
So your drill looks fantastic because you can really lay into the guy, or bending,
yeah,
you know, pulling a guy's head down and then kneeing him supposedly in the groin that you probably wouldn't be able to reach in that position anyway, not
yeah,
without your thigh hitting him in the chest. So again,
yeah,
very safe. So your demo looks fantastic because the guy can be lifted off the floor because it's such a safe shot.
yeah,
But show me a safe version of punching someone straight in the face. You got to be
yeah,
careful now. You know, you can't
yeah,
make it. You know, your demo doesn't look good with that because you can't physically let it go because you'll drop the guy. You know,
yeah,
so that's one of the things that I'm a bit. You know, it's a red flag for you when I see it. Like, oh, okay, gotcha. But also the red flag for me is when you see the attacker standing still.
yeah,
You know, waiting for his punishment, or if he does move, he moves and then stands still again, allowing
yeah,
you to be superhero style on him. You know, he's going slow, you're going fast. That's a classic
yeah,
way of making a demo look fantastic. You know,
yeah, yeah,
the
yep,
best person to look at in any demo is the bad guy. If he's not
yeah,
working realistically, you know, that's the question.
yeah,
You know, the other guy's the answer, but he's the question. And the question comes first. And like
yeah,
we talked about before, the quality of any answer depends on the quality of the question. So if he's not being realistic, you can dismiss the whole thing. Forget it.
yeah, bin it. Yeah, that's it.
You know,
Yeah, yeah. It just happens in so many demos. Like there's not many good demos out there. Most of them you can sit there and pick it to pieces and find something amiss with them.
well, I think I mentioned it before that, you know, one of my red flags, if you can produce a good demo. Now that might sound
Yeah,
crazy, but it's like, okay, if you went to, like, say, a boxer or a wrestler, can you demonstrate boxing? Now the
yeah,
guy will probably look at you like, he can show you the punches and he can show you the components of it, but he can't actually demonstrate the boxing unless you box.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
there's no set sequences that he can really show you. So he can demonstrate how you punch and how you move around, maybe, but he can't actually show you boxing. But
yeah,
you got another one of the you know, the super systems, and they're like, oh yeah, we've got 500 demos we can do, and then they'll do the, you know, ranging from, you know, a defense against a punch to this and this and this, and then a guy pull a gun on you and a guy with a knife and the bear hook from behind, and they've got all these ones they can reel off because they're all pre choreographed little sequences. Whereas
yeah,
the guys who actually fight, they don't. You know, they don't have phrases like in a language. If you're learning a language to go on holiday, you might learn to ask, like, you know, where's the bar? You know, one beer, please. That sort of stuff. But you're not learning to
yeah.
speak. You can't have a conversation with anybody. But
No,
the sport fighters and guys of their ilk, they can have a conversation. You
yeah,
know, the the system type guys we talked about before, you know, mentioning no names or systems, they can't have a conversation, but they can make all these little set speeches,
mm,
but they can't be
yeah,
interactive as such. So it's one of my red flags is if you can give, you know, if someone says to me, can you give me a demo of what core combatives is? I'd be like, again, I'd be kind of struggling a little bit because it's like, well,
yeah,
all right, attack me then and I'll show you, you
yeah,
know, but I don't have a
yeah,
load of stuff in my pocket that I can pull out and wheel out like, oh yeah, this is this sequence and this is that sequence, because I don't train that way. You know, I
yeah,
train to have a conversation, not make a speech, if
yeah,
you know what I mean.
yeah. Yeah, I got put on the spot once. We had this we're at this thing and they asked us to do a demo. They're like, oh, can you come up? There was I don't know, an advertising thing where there was a booth, you could put a table out and put all your flyers and whatever, and I did all that. And they're like, can you come on stage and do a demo? I'm like, yeah, I could. But and then I was just like, there was nothing that we could do that was pleasing to the eye. It was all just like you said. And I just got up there and spoke and said, you know what, demonstrations are pointless. um, you know, we're not going to demonstrate anything
Yeah.
cool
Yeah.
because everything we do is not going to look cool.
Next.
But I can guarantee you one thing: uh, this is the stuff that will work. You know, this is the stuff.
Well,
Like,
I ran
those basics.
when I was serving, I ran a military close combat demonstration team. You know, I started it, I created it, I trained it, I ran it. You know, with the blessing of the bosses, and it was great. We travelled all around the place. It was a fantastic little jolly for us. You know, going to all these different bases and doing all this stuff. And we also taught a lot of women's self-defense on all these bases, so that was fantastic. You know, and I used to hate the demo side of it though, because what can you really do? And
Yeah,
you can only really do the same old cliched bullshit that everybody else does. So there was
yeah,
plenty of like knees to the groin, you know, defense
yeah,
against bear hugs from behind. It was all like, yeah, 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 you know. And I really didn't like the choreography side of it because you're so limited safety wise. You know, like I say, you can't demo punches to the head. They can only do that on the movies because of the camera angle where they punch past the head, but from
yeah,
that direction, it looks like they actually hit. But if you've got people all the way around you, you know, it looks terrible. So
yeah,
there's a lot of grabbing and wrestling and, you know, pseudo striking the groin and pretending to chop the neck and stuff. And it wasn't my favorite thing. It was cool. It got me out of
yeah,
a lot of work, you know.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just great. And that's always good, you know. You know,
yeah,
anybody who wants to know what being in the military is like, well, consider like a 12-year long episode of Jackass TV. That's what can you say? You
yeah,
know, it was anything you get out of doing work. That was great. But yeah, the
yeah.
demo stuff, no, it's not my thing.